This is Folded Curiosity. The following discussion is with Eddie Santos, a U.S. Marine combat veteran, SBA expert, motivational speaker, and Southern California business banker who helps small business owners finance and purchase their own commercial space. He's built his career bringing real-world lending know-how to entrepreneurs on their own turf. I barely started with the unit. I think I checked into the unit, and we went down to Pendleton once. Mm-hmm. And then we got shipped off. We went to Iraq.
Yeah, I remember we had to do all the whole 2002. We were just getting prepped. We're doing getting our shit ready, and I had a Toyota Celica. And I remember we're all in formation. I showed up late. I'm all, and everyone's in formation. I'm Santos showing up late, and backwards, and I run back to the fucking unit. And everyone's just like Santos, and I'm not usually on point, but everyone's like, "Wow, Eddie Santos is late. What the hell?"
Good nights for you to show up.
Yeah, right. And then, because I think I got promoted as a sergeant in Iraq, and I started in Kuwait when we were in Camp Pendleton.
Oh, you were promoted there?
Yeah, in Camp Commando, I think we were. Were you in Camp Commando?
I was Camp Commando, and then, that's when we split off from you guys.
Yeah, because then that's the crazy thing, is Merles and I were tight. We're very good friends. Tom, been to his house, his wife, or whatever she was, fiance back then, was my ex-wife. So, and then I heard the whole story of him being separated. I didn't know you were part of that.
Yeah.
And then, to this day, he's never told me anything. He's always, I don't know how rough it was for you guys or what's this you guys saw, but he saw more shit than we did.
Completely unexpected.
Yeah. And I was just like, I guess you guys didn't get any mail. You guys were it was crazy. And to this day, I haven't really talked to him. I mean, I went to Tom Merles. I think his name, that's not Tom Merles, no.
Yeah, Tom.
Tom Merles is, but I don't know if it's senior or junior, same first name.
I think he has the same first. Yeah, because he was, I can't even remember his dad's rank.
He was a chief warrant officer. He was like a CW2 or one.
CW2?
Yeah, I think so. It's something like that.
Yeah, but his dad was in the unit. I just remember briefly talking to him. Very nice guy.
Yeah, super mellow, very low key, and just kind of level headed. But yeah, I've always wanted to get back, because when I got back, I got injured in Iraq, and then I got medevaced out of there, right around July after we got done.
Wait, so what happened there? How did that
remember Sullivan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and he was flipping cars, and we were ready to pack our, we were back in Manila form, and all
was this in Kuwait or was this in Basra?
This was in Basra at the airport. Remember, we all came back to the airport, yes. And then we were all hanging out there, and all our vehicles were parked. All third brigade's vehicles were parked side by side, and I was the comm chiefs, and then we were starting to burn all of our our trash and everything else, and someone threw a lithium battery, and then he was bitching about it. He's like, "Who the fuck's doing lithium?" I'm like, dude, I don't know. It's like you're the comp chief, you should know. And I looked at him, I'm like, dude, we're about to go home, man. Stop being a little bitch. And I didn't give a shit. I told him, a little bitch. I didn't think anything of it, right? So I go back to my vehicle. I go in to grab something from the back of the vehicle, and he comes back at me and just fully swings me right here in the cheekbone. And of course, my Sergeant Cruz, these guys are all bigger guys too, from sheriff department. And they just grabbed him and like, what the hell are you doing? So I had a fractured cheekbone, and my God, I can't even think of Major Corps is like, nah, dude, you need to be medevac. So they got 4 vehicles.
He sucker punched you.
Just out of nowhere. And I was like, dude, are you serious right now? So I got medevac, and that's why I was able to bring the arm back, from Saddam.
Yeah.
I went through that whole system, and that's a whole story in itself, So it was an interesting story. But I mean, the cool thing was that we were done, for the most part. So when I got back, and the whole unit took another 4 months before they came back. They had the big fire,
Yes.
That whole thing happened. I was the only one who had pictures. I had tons of pictures. I always took pictures of my disposable cameras, but I never had a chance to go back and I showed up to the unit for one drill, and after that I left. So I never really got a chance to really kind of talk to Merles or what happened, or actually found out what he went through. But
that's wild, man.
Yeah.
That's a whole
I don't know. I'm curious to know what you guys went through. I'm sure you don't want to talk about it, but maybe someday.
I remember my biggest upset was because I was living with Chipetta at the time. So I check into the unit, and so we were like buddy.
Right.
So I met all of the people he knew, and that's how I got to know Bunch and that
Bunch.
That wild
that guy with the. Have you ever seen a drunk elephant? Right.
Totally out of control, man. That guy was an interesting cat. So that was the whole thing. Is when we went to Iraq, to Kuwait, and we got to Commando, and I got called into the CO's office, the tent.
Oh, that's right. He was in there all the time.
And he's like, so we're taking you and we're splitting you off with You'll be Golf and Fox Company
Right.
from 223.
That's what it was.
And I was
And
like,
you're like,
where?
yeah, there's no loyalty. You got to put you in
I
wherever
guess
he needs
this
you,
is
right?
the real deal now. And so he gave me a folded piece of paper. He's like, take this over. I'll introduce you to their CEO, and then we'll see you when we see you.
Just like that.
So just grab your stuff out of the tent, and then you'll be bunking with them.
That's crazy.
And that was it. And then it was like the next morning we got in Humvees and we headed up to, I think, Matilda.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
Then some other, and then we sat on the border.
Yeah, we were all kind of
all along the
line,
yeah.
Just everything just started fireworks, down that way.
There was a whole. I remember hearing everything fly overhead, and I was like,
yeah, like this is happening. Like, wow, this is.
So this is what it's like. Yeah, this is how we.
Yeah, I think the most frustrating part for me was that we trained as a 4-man team for so long, and I had my 2 guys, and then at the end of the day, it's like we all get split up, and then we're like, damn, like that kind of sucks, like you think you're gonna be working with these guys during combat, and all of a sudden I got Gavin, which I don't know, Tom Leslie just came from the army,
right?
The only guy that I had with me was John Duperoy, which is my buddy. That
Duperoy,
well.
yeah,
Duperoy are tight. Him and I are like Duperoy, Scott Miller, Jesse Johnston, and Tony are like we're all like really really tight.
Yeah.
He just moved to I think he just moved to Colorado, I think.
Oh,
yeah. So yeah, we're on a text group messaging all the time.
That's so wild, man. It's an interesting. I haven't kept up with everybody. I know they've done some meetups here and there. I just haven't been able to coordinate with those.
The crazy part is that 3rd Brigade, they're kind of disassembled. I think 2nd Brigade, they're a little tighter group, and they're. I think some people stayed after we all left. They call them. God, I've heard they call them. They create like this little group, and I guess because they stayed afterwards, they're like a little bit tighter. And when they invite me, I'll just go to it, just because it's so close.
Longer than 2008, they stayed in.
After we all came, after Anglico came back to the U.S., that group stayed behind. Like they picked some volunteers, and they call it Vatoville, and they had this whole little thing going on, and so it's just kind of funny. Most of them are like Hispanic.
Didn't Martin do that?
Miguel was in there. Miguel Perez was there. So I don't know. It's just a group of, I think it was like 10 or 20 Marines. And yeah, so I stay in touch with Miguel Perez, and he's the guy who's always setting up the events. So
I love that, man.
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of wish our own unit our own 3rd Brigade had more of a cohesiveness,
I know. It's, it's interesting. It's life goes on. People separate too, is what happens. People move all over the country, and everybody gets their own job, and
it's interesting, right? What people are up to. Like a lot of them are cops, firemen, and other than that, you have like a hodgepodge of stuff,
Hodge and what? Leo? He's Lozano. Where'd he go? He's in.
I thought he went to Arizona, but I have no idea where he's at. I haven't talked to him in years.
It's strange how people sort of everybody. It's like dust in the wind. They kind of go their own ways, but
I can't believe how long ago it's been. Like I was talking to Diana. I was like, it's been like almost 25 years, right? Was it 22 years? 20 years.
2003, so 22 years, coming up on 24 years. Yeah, time flies, man.
Oh man. So
where were you before the Marines?
During the Marine Corps, I graduated from El Segundo. I went to Santa Monica College, failed all my classes, got kicked out, and then went to El Camino College. So I was like working at a freight forwarding company in El Segundo for a few years, and then I went to work at a burger joint before that in high school. I was working like 37 hours a week. I was working. My mom was in Miami. I didn't know who my dad was at the time, so I was just sleeping on my aunt's couch, and I was just fending for myself.
Did you grow up here in California, or
I grew up in East LA.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like the first one born here. My whole mom's side of the family's from Guatemala, and my dad's from Mexico, which I didn't know who my dad was for 21 years.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so I've lived all over South Central, like Compton, Watts, Yumikutta High, Huntington Park. So my mom would grab me, my brothers, take the welfare money, and then I'd have a fight with the stepdad, and I'd run away to my grandma's house. And then my mom would pop up again, and I'll take me back in. So I was always like doing this island hopping all over South Central. So anywhere,
be hard.
Yeah. When you're a kid, you don't really realize it. I think now looking back as a dad, I realize how resilient kids are. And for me, it was just kind of like my mom had the mentality that she was in Guatemala, and in Guatemala, kids work, So we were out there selling mangoes in the streets, and it was so embarrassing for us because we're like American kids, And it's like, no, don't be embarrassed. You should never be embarrassed of working. And we're sitting there selling with this thing over our shoulders in the park, and my friends are playing soccer, and the girl I had a crush with, and we're like selling mangoes and stuff. It was like, and then my mom would always, she was always dirt poor. They couldn't manage their money. And we lived in the back of a Volkswagen bus at one point. Volkswagen bus with a tent. my two brothers and I, my stepdad and my mom on the backyard of a house for almost 6 months.
Oh my
Yeah, and it
goodness.
was just kind of like normal for us, just like, okay, I guess we live in the Volkswagen bus now. So it's just a lot
Yeah,
of weird
yeah.
stuff like that. And it's washing windshields at the AM PM mini market on Gage and over there by Huntington Park.
How old were you at this age?
Probably like 10, 11 years old, and so I just kind of, there's one thing I do enjoy about that whole era was that even though it was embarrassing, I kind of learned how to hustle, right? It was just like, you got to learn how to hustle. And sometimes I go to Santa Monica Pier with my daughters, and it brings back memories. I'm like, dude, when we were here, my mom would make us go and pick up cans, go to every trash can and pick cans in one of those regular plastic bags. And we had to smash them and be completely smashed and fill that bag before we can go in the water. So it was always like, we couldn't just go and get a hot dog on a stick and like, oh yeah, whatever, let's go get $5 to play video games. I mean, that wasn't the case. So it was always kind of like living in this kind of like, there's no money. So we just had to kind of work around that. So yeah, did that as a kid. Was supposed to go to Compton High School, and I was like, I'm not going to go to Compton High School. It was already, I lived in Compton at the time in middle school. And the interesting thing about living in the ghetto or the hood is that we're all broke. All the parents are making probably minimum wage. And you're at school, and you would think instead of people trying to lift you up and inspire you to get out of there, I feel like everybody pulls you down like crabs, like in the boiling pot. It was just always talking bad to you, making fun of you. Your mama's so fat, this and that and the other. But in reality, like, we're all kind of broke, and there's always this situation because there were a lot of Hispanics and a lot of blacks, and I had a lot of black friends. But you had gang members in middle school, and if I was by myself and I went to the bathroom like during fifth period and I came back and there were 4 black students walking this way, you better either turn around and be ready for them to like literally just hit you, just for the sake of the fact that you're just, what I'm saying? It was always this fighting back and forth, and that's why. I always got straight A's as a kid, and my grandma took me to church, and I've always tried really hard I felt really guilty for my grandma having to take the burden on me. So the least I can do was like make my grandma proud. So I was always just trying to do really well in school. But, in that environment, it's really hard to learn or to get ahead because you're always just kind of living with this fear that someone's going to come from behind you and punch you or steal your stuff. So when I graduated from middle school, I was supposed to go to high school. I was like, I'm not going to do this. So my mom worked for United Airlines, and I went into her purse and I stole one of her buddy passes. And I called my uncle. I'm like, I'm coming over. So I rollerbladed to LAX and got in a plane and went to Dallas and lived with my uncle for about 6 months.
And you were 18.
I was 15. Yeah, I was going to be a freshman in high school. So I went to Dallas with my uncle for the first 6 months during summer. And I went my first semester of high school. I went to North Carolina High School. Massive school, and it was wonderful. And then my aunt in El Segundo, who lived with my cousin and 2 flight attendants, she was just like, Eddie, why don't you just come back here and go to El Segundo, crash on my couch? And that's what I did. I flew back and I went to El Segundo, and this is a beautiful school. And I'm like, all of a sudden, like, if you wear ripped jeans or you wear dirty clothes because that's the way you wanted to express yourself, money, it wasn't because you were poor. It was just who they are.
Fashion, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I still got a job, and I was working at a burger joint. 38 hours, 32 hours, just making my own money. I wanted to support myself. I didn't want to, buy my car, and so yeah, it's just a lot of that before the Marine Corps. But there's one thing about when people were getting accepted to colleges, and I applied to Cal State Dominguez, and I was supposed to be in 0411 logistics. And when I was in boot camp, I guess the billet opened up, and I got called out. I was like, hey, there's Marine recruit, whatever, private. We have a billet opportunity for Anglico. And I'm like, I was just like, I don't know. I'm scared as hell. I'm like, sure, I'll do it. Or sign here. It's just sign there. So when I graduated, I had no idea what Anglico was. And so I went to comm school, 29 Palms after MCT. And when I showed up at the unit at Anglico, I'm like literally there on my first day, and they have a paraloft and they're shaking off the parachutes. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And everyone just kind of looks at me like, are you an idiot? Like, this is Anglico. Those are parachutes, That's how ignorant I was, So
what was that for?
Yeah, exactly. What's that for? But yeah, at the point I'm 18 and, just going to college, just, working as a busboy at a sushi restaurant, and then worked as a server and just trying to make things happen, just.
So you waited tables too?
Oh yeah, I waited tables at Hermosa Beach at Club Sushi.
Isn't that an experience, man?
Yeah, it's just, it makes you humble now, right? Because you've been through it, you've done it, and, it's just kind of looking at what I'm doing now. It's completely different, and seeing how I make money now versus back then. It's just
But
very interesting.
I think those things they build character.
Oh, absolutely,
Same thing. I
100%.
waited tables for years, and
Yeah.
it teaches you a lot about how to interact with people, teaches you about yourself,
Mm-hmm. And
patience.
I think that's the key is being exposed to people, right? And all these experiences of being to all these different schools. So I went to about like maybe 5 or 6 different elementary schools, through that process. And I went to 10 schools between kindergarten and high school. So I was always that new kid coming in, right? A new kid. And I saw patterns. There's always that smart kid who thinks he knows everything, who's raising his hand all the time. And then you got the bully over here who's just being a dick to everybody, right? And I kind of saw that pattern, and I've gotten bigger fights with this bully. And when I came to this school, I'm like, dude, this kid thinks he's everything. Like I feel like my goal was to identify who the bully was and who was the nerdy guy. And I really kind of felt like I was the guy in between, trying to get everybody else to feel accepted and feel like open to have that growth mindset, not be shy, not to be quiet. Like if the teacher's asking questions, like, this is not dumb. People are very quiet and very timid. Right. They don't want to feel stupid. They don't want to seem uncool. And I'd be like, do you know the answer? Like, raise your hand. And I think the teacher caught on to what I was doing. And I think she kind of liked that about me. And she kind of always kind of put me in situations to help kind of create that environment. I always created a cool vibe. And we went to the playground. I would see that bully like messing with my friend. And I would sit there and I wouldn't even think twice. I'd just clock him in the face. And then the kid would fall on the ground, and then he looked at me like, what the hell? Like he wasn't expecting that. I'm like, hey man, we're cool. I don't want to fight. I don't want to get suspended. He goes, just quit messing around with people. Just come on, let's go play football.
Yeah.
And also for that nerd, like that guy who he knew everything. I'm like, dude, like let him answer the question, because they put us in groups of 4, right? Remember the So it's kind of that pattern kind of really stuck to me, and it being exposed and talking to strangers and selling Shasta sodas on Alameda for 50 cents with my little brother. It's like all those interactions just build up, and it gets to a certain point where I feel like the database gets really, really filled with learning how people act. And at the end of the day, honestly, we're all the same. We have the same feelings, same fears. I mean, we have different experiences on how we've grown up. You never know what a kid's going through, right? You never know if they're getting hit at home. You never know if this guy's getting hit at home. You don't know this mom's praising this kid, thinks he's the smartest kid. So it's just kind of really cultivated. Even I think my personality, we're born with it, but I think being put in that environment made it even more powerful for me as I became an adult. And my vision from when I was about to graduate from college was to get into like being a Don Draper and get into marketing and be creative. And that's really what I felt I wanted to do, get into like work at Shy a Day or something and maybe create a promotion or an advertising campaign. That's what I had in mind. That's what I majored for in marketing. But then my godparents, who kind of sort of adopted me during my junior year of high school, who shot from England, my godfather was like, Eddie, you need to go into sales. You have no idea. Like I'm an executive. Like I see salespeople. You need to go into sales and sell something expensive.
He saw something there.
Yeah, exactly. That. And and typically it's almost like my dad, right? So I took I started kind of like listening to what he had to say, and I was sitting there at Cal State Northridge going through my last hoorah with my counselor, and I was waiting for my turn, and I'm sitting there in the lobby area at CSUN in the business department.
Okay.
And I'm seeing all these pamphlets sitting there, right? And I grabbed one of them, and one of them says, the average income of a marketing major was like $32,000 first year. And then accounting was like 50 to 60. Then I saw finance, it said 80 to 95. And I'm like, finance, interesting, right? So I became I came back from Iraq, we all made a lot of money, roughly about $5,000, hazardous duty pay, parachute pay, family separation pay, you can't spend the money, right? Because you're in Iraq. So I came back with like 50, 60 grand. And at that point I was engaged with my ex-wife, and I told her, when I come back from Iraq, I don't want to work. I just want to be a full-time student for my next 2 years. Right. And so I did that. And then I saw that the accounting department had this cool club, and they had they had all these events, and then the finance club had all these, they had very organized groups, and then the marketing club was like 3 guys, and just very, you would think that marketing would be more like put together, right? And I'm like, this is. I went to their meetings, and I'm like, there's like 7 people in here. Like, this is not working. Like, this is what's going on here. And I took over the group and as a president, and I was working at Sony Pictures as an intern as well. Oh wow! And then I started. I became really good friends with all the artists, the guys who did all the billboards, the graphic designers, and I created my own little posse, and then I started getting speakers from the studio to speak at our events about marketing, and I
And
called.
this was all you just did this on your own.
Yeah,
This
just on my
was
own. I'm like, we got to get good speakers in here. We got to make this fun and get some music in here. Start getting some money, getting some sushi, get some food. Kids want food, right? So
sure.
But the cool part was that I would have my the graphic designers be out there smoking a cigarette. And I'm like, hey man, can you do me a favor? I'm doing this event. Can you do me a flyer so I can like promote this stuff everywhere?
Right.
And I didn't get paid as an intern at So Many Pictures, right? So I'm working on the international marketing department on late hours, and I'm printing out these massive, colorful posters, and putting them all over campus. It was the coolest thing ever. The whole thing takes off, and our group was like 100 and something people, and I started throwing like limousine parties to go to clubs, and
Sure.
the whole thing took off. So when I graduated, I threw this massive job fair, and it was so successful that they ran out of water and food and drinks because they were only expecting a few people, and there were a lot of recruiters there. It was a job fair.
Mm-hmm.
And when, at the end of the night, Michael Behart from a company I used to work for came up to me. He's like, "Hey, I want to hire you." And I came out of high school. When I graduated from college, I was working at an equipment finance company out of downtown LA. And it was just one of those like cold calling, 125 calls a day, 200 calls a day, 150 calls a day. And it was like just literally like that movie Pursuit of Happiness, just making calls. And I just told him, I told Mike one thing. I go, I just want to make $100,000 a year. Is this possible or not? And he goes, Eddie, if you make 125 phone calls a day, I promise you that either you'll get close to it or you'll surpass it. And if there's a gap in there, you do show me that, I'll pay you out of my pocket the difference. And I just literally all freaking day just cold calling and worked it for 5 years and killed it. It was a lot of fun. Anyhow, that's a long one.
No, I love hearing all the details and there's things I didn't even think to ask. But would you consider yourself like an introvert or an extrovert?
Oh, definitely extrovert.
Extrovert.
Yeah. This is my personality, and I feel like I'm still that 10-year-old little kid inside of me. I know I'm in this body, but I see it. I don't care if I'm like I can't help myself. If I'm at Target or at Trader Joe's, and I'm sitting there, I have to comment, but it comes natural. It's not because I'm forcing myself to do it, but I just feel like everybody's my friend, and it's just interesting how much power we have in impacting people by just being kind and nice, right?
I agree.
And you never know what's going through people. And, if we can talk about depression and some stuff that I've been through after my divorce, but even more so now after going through that hole, you come back and some people are very volatile for the good and the bad. Someone might just flip somebody off and that person just, their energy's not there, throws it back at them, or they fall deeper and I've been there. I've been, like, I feel like a feather, I'm at the mercy of whatever is happening.
The weather or the wind.
Oh, the wind or whatever. If it goes below this, it's going to be a negative situation and someone can lift you up easily. So it's not fun to be there because you're at the whim, right? But obviously now, when you're strong and things are going well, you're kind of like a rock, cool. Sticks and stones can burn, can hurt your bones, but you don't let things affect you. If anything else, I think the analogy that I use is like, I'm a light, we're all lights, and I have a very powerful light, like a lighthouse. And I want to be able to light people's day, and sometimes you do that and then they do that and just kind of create a better positive environment than trying to blow people's light away, because there's so much anger or whatever is going on, pain, right? So
you're a facilitator. I think that's you, and I think you have a very positive. I think at least I see you as an optimist. That's the vibe I get. I've always gotten from you is that you're an optimistic person, despite and even in everything you've mentioned that you've gone through. You still come out on top and you still manage to persevere. You didn't let the bad times break you down.
Yeah. And, when I hear these things, I have a very hard time accepting comments or compliments. It's my brain I don't know what it is about me. Like people tell me thank you for your service. I'm like, thank you for paying your taxes. I have to always.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I have to talk to I talked to somebody about this, and I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I guess there's a part of me I'm kind of shy. I want to keep my humility, and I don't feel like I don't like to be that show off guy, or what I'm saying. I don't like that kind of vibe. But what I do think about is where's the merit in this, right? Like what made me who I am? Of course, there's all these experiences and exposed to dramatic events like we all have them. But I just think to myself, I think my grandma raising me as a little kid, going to church every Sunday, and learning about my religion or whatever I believe, my Christianity roots, and started and really taking this logical kind of flow chart. If this, then that. If this, then that. If this, then that. Right. If I believe in this, then I should believe in this. I can't be I can't believe in this and not believe in that. It's almost like if I join the Marine Corps and I'm signing my life away, like we did, well, I'm gonna go to that war, but not that war. I'm gonna go to that one, but I don't like that one, so I'm gonna ask for not for that war. I don't want to go to ice weather because it's too cold, but I go to that one. It's like, no, you sign up and you are at the mercy of whatever is going to happen, right?
Right.
Well, kind of the same thing with my thought process and myself and my belief system. You know, if I believe in God, then God created the universe, and I'm the son of God, then what the fuck am I afraid of? Right? Like I have to use that same rule to keep me at calm. You know, the crazy thing about the Marine Corps being in Iraq is that I mean, yeah, maybe there's some moments that happen. I was like, oh, shit, that's just getting real, you know?
Yeah.
But for the most part, I always kind of hold my head like, am I nervous? Am I like, and I'm like, okay, you know what? We're all kind of like, fuck it, put audio slave on and walk on and move forward. You know, it's like, well, we're not, you know, you got to keep your sanity. And we both know that, you know, there's a lot of personalities. We all went through boot camp the same way, but not everybody reacts to it. Sometimes the tougher guys are the ones who are kind of more like scared, and the guys who are quiet are the guys who step up. It's kind of, at least that's what I saw.
Yeah.
And I was just fortunate enough that my 4-man team, we were always just steady the entire time, just chill. We never really spazzed out. Okay, cool. They're throwing a mortar around there. Guys, get in the vehicle. Let's go that way, you know?
You found a harmony.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of this equilibrium that you
exactly. So, you know, going back to the conversation about my belief system and about, you know, being optimistic and being a facilitator and all that stuff. And, you know, it just goes down to the core values or it goes back to my belief system and what I believe, you know, in my life, you know, my God, you know, people have different, I don't want to get into religion specifically, but to me, I almost feel like I use this analogy too. Like the cell phone right now is amazing. We can sit here, you know, we can buy Bitcoin, order food, get a taxi. We can do a lot of things with our phone.
Yeah.
But when that phone dies, it's like, you know, you're 3 o'clock in the morning out of the bar, you're SOL, right? But I feel as long as you stay plugged in, even if you're at 1%, you know, in some low power mode, like you just got to, you're like, I got to get connected. You just have this idea, you got to stay connected.
Sure.
So that's the way I see my life. I like, regardless of what's going on in my life, I just got to stay connected to humility. I got to stay connected to and get charged and remember that source of power, you know, because if I forget to charge my phone, my life might be a lot different. Right? So when you're talking about a facilitator and all that stuff, I feel like, you know, if I can be a light and my light's charging your cell phone solar panel, you know, great. You know, that's awesome. You know, does that make sense? I don't know if it makes sense.
No, it does. I can see that about that's like, it's interesting too that you know, I mean, you mentioned the Marine Corps. I see the Marines affect people in 2 ways. It either lifts them up or breaks them down.
Right.
And it's, you know, because I do remember, and I'm sure you're aware, there were several people in our unit who were very downtrodden and they hated the Marines. And it's this constant, woe is me, this is terrible. And then there's the other people who are, this is amazing. I get to experience this. I'm having a great time. I'm here with my friends. I'm going to make the best of it. You know what I mean? So
and it's absolutely. I mean, and that's just in general life, right? I mean,
sure.
You have your brothers who's really successful. You got the other ones like, you know, struggling with drugs, you know, and and it's really sad. I don't know. I mean, it'd be kind of cool. I mean, obviously we're not robots, you know, we're human beings. And I don't know what that needle I don't know what it is about our compass inside of us that decides to go this way versus the other way. But I do believe that, I'm not saying they don't have a portable charger, but some people really, I think they just really don't believe in anything, a higher power. And I think if they did believe in a higher power and took it, say, if I believe this, then this, that can be solved almost instantly, right? Because it is a mindset, right? It is when you're going through depression, you're going through anxiety, you get the suicidal tendencies. It's like I tell people, like the pain is so massive. I don't know if you've been there before, but when I went through my depression and I was going through this anxiety and I felt like the whole world's collapsing on me, the pain, it's not a pain like when you're burning your finger, because that hurts, right? And it really hurts. So if you get shot in the hand or something happens, like, imagine being tortured and you get caught, and I think just the fear of that, right?
Right.
But when the anxiety is in your head, you can't sleep at night, and you're just like, you can't stop it, right?
It's endless.
Yeah, it's endless. It's endless, and it's a horrible pain. I don't know how to describe it to somebody, but it's a different physical pain. It's not a physical pain, but if the pain was so hard, I'd chop off my hand, and I know it's gonna hurt, but I'd rather chop off my hand and live my life without it and heal, and knowing that pain's not gonna be there anymore. But when the pain's in your head, right, you can't chop off your head, right? I mean, I don't know. That's on my check. You know, and it's funny. I've used this analogy before, and I think at least for me, you know, I was, you know, I went through some crazy stuff. I went to the VA one day. And I got 2 daughters. I'm like, I go, as much as I wanted to just like ended because I felt like I accomplished everything I wanted out of my career, my life. And I was like, you know what? I don't need to be here anymore. Like, I'm done. Like, this is cool. I'm like, I'll hang my dog tags and I'm out of here, guys. I don't know what's going to happen.
How did this, do you mind if you're asking? So how did that all start? How did you get down that path?
I think it was just, you know, I went through a lot in 2014, 15, you know, being married for 13, 14 years with my ex-wife. And, you know, we decided that, hey, look, you know, I think it's time for us to this is not working anymore.
So you had already, you're out of the Marines, you went through college.
I went to college.
You had started your career.
Yeah, started my career. And yeah, I think my ex-wife and I just got to a point where we're like, you know, my daughters are like 7 and 6, or I think 7 and 8, roughly on that age. And it just got to the point where there was so much resentment. The energy was so bad, like being around each other. I mean, we weren't yelling at each other. We weren't like abusive or anything, but it was just the energy was just, went to a lot of counseling. We did everything we could. And we just realized, you know, we have 2 different paradigms, you know, like I think we had a lot of good vision of what we wanted. We wanted to have a home, kids. We wanted to do all this stuff. But I think when it came to compatibility, you know, I still wanted to, I'm an extrovert. I wanted to go out and still have, even though we were parents and I know that's a responsibility,
Sure,
I still wanted to keep our autonomy of as a couple and do stuff, you know, and sometimes it's just things didn't work out, you know.
well,
and
people get lost in it, I think.
Oh, 100%.
Becomes their identity.
And, you know, my ex-wife, she's academically inclined. She's got her doctorate from UCLA. She's got a master's. She's a very hardworking person and the nicest person I've known in my life. She's just a very kind person, almost to a fault.
Sure.
But, you know, I just think she wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. And we decided to just split. And so after we did that, I've wanted to do all these other cool stuff, like start a business. And I started a turf company. You know, I had employees. And I went hardcore into it. I left my job at B of A and I went so hardcore into it. And I think I was, looking back at it, I think I wasn't dealing with the pain. I put all that energy into trying to make this business successful. And when that business wasn't as successful and I literally kind of lost my ass in it, I was just like, I don't even know where to start, you know? And just all these thoughts, all these worries, you know, of how am I going to get forward? How am I going to support myself? Am I become a bum? And like, I couldn't handle all the equation. The function of X was like this much, you know? I couldn't deal with it. So I kind of went on a spiral. You know, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. I had my ex-girlfriend back then, and I closed the blinds every night. I couldn't sleep at night, and eventually got to the point it got so bad. I'm like, I just went to the VA at the Long Beach Hospital, and I went to the emergency room, and I was like, dude, I don't know what you guys need to do here, but I need something. I don't know, Valium, whatever you guys call it. I don't know what it is. And the guy at the, you know, when you go to the emergency room, there's always like a bunch of people waiting, and you go sign up and whatever. But the guy found out he knew I was in the Marine Corps, so he's a Marine too. So he grabbed me. He's like, "Hey, Devil Dog, come over here. Let me talk to you." And he threw me on the back behind a sub-wall that they had, and he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm not okay." I'm like, "I need help like ASAP, dude, because I'm like, I can't do this anymore." And I got 2 daughters. I have to figure this out. Yeah. And he grabbed me and he kind of put me in the list and got me to the doctor, and they gave me some Valium. I think it was Valium. And then I took it, and by the time I got to the marina here on Long Beach by the yard house, like the Valium kicked in, and for the first time in a long time, all the noise went away. You know, like I was just, you know, when you jump out of the plane, it's just kind of peaceful. Yeah. You know, I'm looking at the sunset, and I'm like, wow, like just like finally got a little bit of peace. You know, like and of course I had meds, and I was trying to work, and I take these meds all the time, and I can't remember. There's so many meds that they give me, but the great thing is that it turned the fire off, but it also made me very lethargic, and it slowed me down. It bogged me down. I just wanted to go to sleep. So I didn't like how that was going, you know? And so I slowly, you know, started going to counseling, and the counselor was like, you got to find a life worth living again. And, you know, she started giving me assignments like, hey, just go to the gym, you know, get dressed, sit there for 5 minutes. Right. Next week, sit there for 10 minutes. You know, I've ran 22 marathons, and I think
22.
Yeah, I think 21, 22, and a lot of half marathons. And so I think a lot of my, I think I kind of realized like, dude, I got to go back and turn the machine back on. You know, I was running marathons since I was 21, and I think running's always been a very good thing for me psychologically, like knowing about commitment, like not giving up. But you know, when your brain starts producing those drugs, I mean, it takes all the laziness, right? So anyhow, so I started realizing back then, and by the way, I gained like 30 pounds or something back then. I was like 210, which I've never been that big, and I'm always like 185, 187. So I started going back into my running mode, and then I slowly started, like, I sat there for 10 minutes, and I started walking for 10 minutes, and I started jogging for 20 minutes. And I felt like I cranked the machine back up and like a lawnmower, and it just started again, you know? And all of a sudden, I just kind of started, you know, got back into Wells Fargo, you know, started, you know, paying off my credit cards. Like everything just went uphill from there. And I feel like the RPNs were back up, and I just kind of from 2000, that happened around 2019. And for the last 6 years, I just kind of went back up again, you know, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. But being here now with that, what they call it, with the V, you know, it gave me a lot of, that experience, even though it was ugly, I learned a lot through it.
A lot of perspective, I'd imagine.
100%. I mean, it was so bad that during my lunch breaks, I would go to the Alma Mall and just sit there in a chair, and this old man would be sitting next to me, and I'm like, and I was just like, want to talk to him, like, hey, do you have any advice for me? Because like, I'm not in a good spot. Like, I just wanted to hear people. I wanted to get that person to like throw some air to lift me, you know?
Right.
You know, just to lift me. And I kind of lost. And I think what really happened to me was that I couldn't find the input from my iPhone. You know, I physically went to a church and during my lunch break, and this church is empty, and it's kind of like Ari almost. It felt kind of dark and gloomy, and I'm like, I was hoping I felt something. I even like got baptized and went to church, and I was trying to go to church and like pray, and I just felt like it was nothing. You know, like I went through the motions to try to like reach for the plug, but I couldn't find what I had before. You know, and it took me a while to slowly get to that point. Like, okay, here's the plug yourself back in. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can call it maybe running, but getting back to my spiritual self, and you know, I'm not ideally where I want to be, you know, at this very moment, but you know, I know there's a lot of things in my spirit and my soul that are probably not the way I want them to be, but you know, I do recognize how to, you know, how important that is, right? And how important it is to help people and to have that altruistic heart, because that's the stuff that fills your whole, that keeps you above, you know, that's the type of stuff that is going to keep lifting you and keep inspiring, and you know, just live a better life, you know?
I like that. I think you really hit the nail on the head with the running thing. I think there's like something to physicality,
right?
Like if it's going to the gym, if it's doing Pilates, if it's doing something physical, there's something about releasing those endorphins, especially with running. I find it very cathartic, like because not only are you rising your endorphins and you're sweating, and it feels like you're pushing the toxins out of your body, literally and physically.
100%, yeah.
But you're giving yourself like self-therapy. I talk to myself, and I'm assuming this is probably the same for a lot of people, but you sort of go through things in your life, and you reach clarity by the end of your run.
Absolutely. And
whatever is going on in your head.
I mean, and you know, some people hate running. I get it. I mean, honestly, I kind of hate it too, but I kind of learned to love it. I don't know how to say, but you know, I think it's that whole mind, body, and soul, right? Is the MBS, as I call it. You know, you can be, and I always go extremes to make these points.
Yeah.
You know, you might be super fit. You know, your body is, if there were like little dashboards showing you your graph, oh, you're like, oh my God, you're optimized. You're at 99.9. Your Maslow's hard gains when it comes to whatever. But you have the body's going really well, right?
Right.
And
right.
even like, let's just say your soul, like, oh my God, you're helping some people out, and you're going to Thailand and whatever, helping. And then what's the other one? The mind. But if you're not really learning, you're not injecting knowledge, and you're not responsible with, you know, money has to do a lot with mind too, right? How do you make money? But if you're broke as hell, you know, you're not going to make an impact on people as much as you can. You know, to your soul, you can do it. But you can also have, like, I always imagine like maybe someone who's like a pastor, or maybe whoever it is, you know, they have a powerful soul, and they have a lot of money, but you know, they're also 400 pounds, you know?
Right.
You know, or you can have this one and this one, but it's almost like 3 pillars, right? These 3 pillars have to be enough to hold a plate, and it's never going to be perfect, but you know, I think we're constantly striving as human beings to be the most optimal we can be, but you can't let it go too far, because the thing will spill over.
You're trying to hit that balance. You're trying to find that.
And it's maybe always wobbling, I guess, you know, but I feel like those 3 things are very important, you know, to just have that type of balanced life. So even right now, I've been really busy with work, and I think for the last 3-4 months, it's been very challenging for me to get back into. I'm kind of going through I'm getting like a D- right now, if I had to give myself that. But I got to remind myself that it's not even about the distance or the speed. It's just, okay, I'm going to invest 30 minutes today, and I'm going to hit the walk button, or I'm going to put my phone in, and I'm going to be for 30 minutes. I'm going to go for a walk. And if I come back, it's not what I'm used to doing. In 30 minutes, I'm usually able to run 3 miles and 3.5 miles or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But even if it's 30 minutes and I'm able to just run 1.5 miles, I gotta celebrate that I completed that 30 minute, right?
It's an accomplishment.
It's an accomplishment, right? And guess what? And regardless, no one's gonna take that away from me. And no matter what, like I'm gonna go upstairs to my place and drink some water and take a shower. I'm actually
You
gonna
feel
feel
better.
sweat. You do feel better, yeah, 100%. And so I'm kind of toying around with the idea right now. Like, do I want to keep running marathons? So, what's my next thing? Do I do Pilates? Do I
Right.
start lifting more? Because I'm 47 now, and you start losing muscle, right? So
Sure.
I think I'm kind of like in a weird place right now with my body. Like, I'm like, what is my next move? Like, what do I want to start doing? Lifting, maybe do both. Because I've just been doing running. I always do like a marathon every year. And for some reason, I just can't get myself to like, okay, let's do it. I mean, I bought the marathon for the LA Marathon a couple years back, and I had a motorcycle accident, and that one really messed me up because I just
You were in a
my shoulder.
motorcycle accident?
It was I dropped one of my. It's a bike that I was riding that was heavier than I used to, and I basically I was coming down 405 to the 101, and it was like a 25-mile exit, and I was going like close to 40, and I didn't realize that. So yeah, I fell over, tried to do a PLF.
Okay.
So it's good. But anyhow, after that, maybe that's where it started. Because after that, I had to take a break. I couldn't run because I was in pain, But anyhow, I got to get back out of it.
I mean, injuries will last. It's something that you kind of have to live with.
Yeah.
Once you acquire an injury, you really got to take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It'll haunt you forever. But to address what you're saying, I think, physicality. And then another thing I found, which is important, which I didn't discover until I'd say maybe in the past 7 years or so, was just using someone else as a sounding board, talking about whatever's on your mind. And if it's, a wife, a girlfriend, even just your daughter, whatever it is, you just talk to somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
A friend, and just get that. You can hear yourself say it, and it feels like it's been lifted off of you. Otherwise, you carry it, and it sort of ruminates in your mind, and it's almost like this toxin that's eroding the inside.
That's a great way to put it, actually. And then I've never actually thought about what you just said, but I can see how powerful that is. And maybe subconsciously, this is why I like forming communities. This is why, like the event I went to, everyone that there, I've had a connection with each one of them. And I love grabbing those groups. And whether it's 3 or sitting poker, sometimes I see my friends going through a deep hole, and I kind of sense it, and I'm like, dude, get your ass out here, let's go. And go, my friends are gonna go to the beach or whatever. But it is nice to get out of your head, and I mean, and sometimes it happens, right? Some people are going through a lot of shit, they're not ready to open up or whatnot.
Of course.
But if you're able to get yourself a friend or two, and use the buddy system, if you want to call it that. I'm sure we've lost friends who through suicide in the last 20 years. I got back from Iraq. I lost a few of them. And, and always hear like so-and-so passed away. And I'm like so pissed. I'm like, man, I should have given the guy a call, and I feel like most people who go through that route is because they don't have a soundboard, right?
They don't have that.
They don't have it, or they fall, like, again, like me, I fell in that hole, right? By myself. I mean, my ex-girlfriend was there, but I mean, I didn't want to talk to anybody, I didn't want anybody to pull me. I was already down in that, in the hole. And you really do need people to kind of help you get that toxic out of the way,
And it's not always, because the longer it sits, the more stuff gets stacked on top of it. So it is harder to talk about that.
Yeah.
So I think as people and as friends, as individuals, as family members, they may not need to talk about whatever that issue is, but I think it's important for us you can talk about anything else. And what you're doing is you're removing layers to get down to whatever that is. You can talk about anything around it. Talk about something you're interested in.
Yeah. And that was really big for me when I was going through this, just going to my godparents' house and just hanging out with them and going for walks, right? Like just going for a walk to the beach. I remember parking my car like up the hill in Manhattan Beach, and just, that's one thing with my ex-girlfriend and I did a lot. We did a lot of walking, just to get out and smell the air. But
something to that, though.
Yeah,
it really is.
It is very therapeutical. Yeah.
It's interesting how the human mind works.
Yeah, I feel like I want to interview you now. What's going on?
No, it's, you know what I mean? I think it's, a lot of our job too is talking to, and Michael here too, is a lot of our job is we talk to people like from all walks of life. And that's what you get, you start to learn about how the psyche works and how people function. And, to me, it's been a great learning experience, not just about the industry, but more about myself, how it works. Oh, that's interesting. I'm noticing something in this person that's similar to me, and how did they handle it? How am I handling it different? How can we handle it together better? So I think it's, I don't know where I'm going other than it's observational. It's nice to.
Well, I feel like you're in the lobby, right? And like you're talking to a lot of different people. I'm always curious. I mean, this is interesting being here and seeing you doing this. Like, hey, I'm going to do this project. You have a vision in your head.
Right.
And now, I mean, you're executing it, right? So there's two things I want to talk about. I want to talk about this thing called VGOT that I use in my head a lot. VGOT, Vision, Goals, Objectives, and Tasks. But I'm curious to know about what are the similarities you find because through people is the Venn diagram really close, like the two circles really close, or I mean people are all different, but what is the biggest similarity you find with the people you're interviewing?
They're all human.
Are they? I don't know, man. Are they?
We'll cross our fingers.
Right.
I think fear is universal. And I think the biggest thing is that the thing people fear the most is themselves.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you have your own. What are we afraid of? We're afraid of other people. We're afraid of things. But what is that really? You know, what's underlying behind, what's sitting behind all of that?
Mm-hmm.
It's fear of disappointing yourself and disappointing the things and the goals that you had as a child and the things that you really wanted to achieve or hopes and dreams that you had. And secretly, those are all packed down by all this other you have in life.
Right.
And so really what you're doing is you don't want to disappoint your child self.
Right.
And so we're fearful of that. So we've created all these little little boards to sort of protect ourselves and these shields. And so,
ironically, isn't it funny that fears was keeping you from doing what you want to do?
Yeah, we're
That's the
keeping
crazy
ourselves
part.
from.
Yeah, that resonates a lot with me because well, there's a couple of things, but one of the biggest things that I think about, I went to one of these Tony Robbins events in Chicago for about a 4-day thing, and New York Clock on Fire and all this stuff. But he did something that was interesting. He turned off the lights and then he had us kind of like think to ourselves, you're in a dark room and think about yourself at 8 years old. And now you are an adult as of right now. And imagine that's a spotlight on that kid, right? Let's just say
Sure.
you're a kid. And now imagine like if you can't imagine that, you think about your sister or your daughter or your son, but just imagine that 8-year-old kid.
Right.
And if you're like almost like in the room of the Matrix when he's in that white room and everything's, all the weapons come through, whatever. Imagine being in a dark room and he goes, I know karate or whatever. But imagine seeing that kid there and think about a slow motion bullet coming at that little kid, right? Like really slow motion. And you're sitting here and you have the power to take the hit and protect that child, right?
Right.
And I'm not, the question is, would you do it? Of course I have 2 daughters. I think most of us say, yes, absolutely, I'll protect the child. Yeah. And he goes, I want you to replace that daughter or that nephew or that kid and then see yourself there as a little kid. You as an adult now, what are you willing to protect that kid? Would you be willing to run with it? That kid deserves everything, right? Deserves love, deserves to be cared, deserves to be motivated, deserves everything else. So it's almost like the energy that it takes for you to be here and run to protect that child. That's the type of energy I create to protect that inner child. Yeah. Like you gotta, when people say, "Oh, that person," that person self. When I think about self-love, I'm not thinking about narcissistic. Oh, look at me, gloating. Maybe that's just had to do with the beginning conversation. Oh, look at me, look how amazing I am. To me, loving yourself is loving that kid.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And telling that kid deserves everything, right?
Yeah.
And I am the dad almost to that little kid and saying, "Hey, man, you can do this, man. You got this, you can, don't give up and don't give, don't give up from El Camino after they kicked you out. Don't, or Santa Monica, you know what I'm saying? Like it's that inner voice. And I don't know where I picked this up as a kid, but I mean, I remember I didn't have my dad, my mom was kind of a mess. And I don't know if this was through God or whatever happened, but I didn't care if it was, I give my English teacher, gave me a certificate saying, now Eddie knows what a noun is. A noun is blah, 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 blah. She printed that out. I didn't just throw it away. I used to frame it and put it on my wall. I was so proud of it. Like, hey, I know nouns, it was something that small. But I remember like constantly like putting stuff around. And I think, I still remember middle school, my report cards. I was so proud of my report cards. I worked hard for it. And nobody told me to do this, but I just did it for myself, and I was just proud of it. Not to say, hey, look at my report card. Look at this. Like, hey, check this out. It was just me reminding myself my I love me wall. And you've been to my house. You see, I have my wall. I have my certificates, and I got stuff that most people have in a binder somewhere.
Sure.
But even the little things, I'm just they're just psychological reminders that, hey man, you can do this. I look at my medals. I got 20-something medals hanging on there. When I walk out my door, I'm like, Kurt, get back to running. You got this. So I don't know where I'm trying to get to this, but I guess the point is that that loving the inner child will inspire maybe that kid not to be afraid, right? To overcome those fears when you have so much positive soundboard within your head.
I think it's a little bit of the opposite. I think that child is more fearless than we are now. I think if we talk to our, because that's what I do. I always ask, what would your younger self say? You have, here's what you want to do. And what would they say? Well, go do it.
Right? It's like, you can jump, like, let's do that wheelie over there. Can we do it?
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's go.
As an adult, you have all these apprehensions, fear, like things that have been built up over life, social safeties, what I should and shouldn't say.
That's a good point, actually.
How should I? Your child would say, hey, Eddie's like, I want to start a new business and do this. Well, it's financial this and that. And what about that? And I have girls your child would be like, well, why don't you go do it, Eddie?
Right. That's fun. This is actually, I'm going to remember this conversation right now. The last minute or whatever it started. That's something that I've never thought about. And, I told you earlier, like, as far as I'm concerned, I'm 10 years old.
Because he was optimistic. He
lived
in a van. He's like, this is fine.
Whatever. And then exactly. And I tell people when I'm at my parties, I'm like, dude, I see people like we're all 10 years old and we're all, I don't see ourselves. So maybe ironically, that's probably the key is I haven't grown up, That's why my ex-wife was like, you need to grow up. I'm like, I don't want to.
I don't want to.
I don't want to, Mom. I don't want to.
Well, we're all trying to grow. You know what I mean? I think everybody's trying to.
Well, there's a balance, right, too, right? You have to take risk and, should I do this, not do this? And now, which is actually, this is a good conversation to go into now because the question is how do you balance like taking too much risk and then how do you be an adult and how do you take that? And so my godfather would ask me like, my godfather writes a lot of books. He's retired now. And then he goes like, I don't know how this happened. I wanted to help, right? And my ex-wife was a educator. And I don't know if I don't know, it's probably like me 30 something years old. Like, I want to do something. I go, I want to go to these schools and talk to these kids. I go, I feel like I have I have enough to show kids. Because kids are like, they don't.
Like elementary school, high school?
High school, mainly high school. And I feel like a lot of these kids, like they don't have any role models. I feel like a lot of them like don't know where to go. So I think a lot of these kids are lost. And I feel like I should go out there and help these kids out. And I don't want to help the guys who are like in AP classes. I want the guys who are struggling.
Right.
But I thought to myself, you know what? I've been to the Marine Corps. At that point, I ran 10 marathons. I'm like, I have enough for these kids to be like, okay, I should listen to that guy.
Right.
Because when you're a kid, you're like, why should I listen to this guy? Like, why? What's up? Who's this guy? That's usually their attitude. They're already kind of like jaded, But so my ex-wife and I started this concept, and I majored in marketing. So I'm like, well, let's start with the name first, right? This guy was vision, right? And so the name became Inspire Moss. Inspire, motivation, achievement, and success. I created the logo. I had this animated logo. I created this the deck. I created the PowerPoint presentation, and then my ex-wife and I collaborated, and she did help me a lot with this ideas because she's an educator. She's like, this is how kids learn, comprehensive analysis and synthesis and is repetition. I go, you shouldn't just go and just do one presentation. Go over those kids and do several presentations throughout the year so they remember you, and that's just going to help you. These kids remember. So I started this idea of like, okay, well, first of all, you have to have the right mindset, the growth mindset, which is the soil, right? It's like this idea of it was a plant-based. So it starts, the seed is like the vision. And the seed is like the nucleus.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
Like this was a vision for you, right?
Sure.
I mean, you're going through it right now.
Yeah.
You have the vision, and then you have goals, these 2 goals, or maybe 3 goals, whatever goals is going to support that vision. Right. One of the goals is to get the equipment. Another goal is to get the people to help you out. Another goal is whatever. He set these 3 things almost like dominoes. If these 3 goals happen, that vision is going to happen. Right. And then you have, let's just say that's the goal here now. Then let's just say the equipment, right? Let's say you have 0 equipment, 0 nothing. And then one of your objectives is either get the money or B, find the right people. You have all these objectives to support that goal of getting the resources to do this. Right. And then now you break it down to tasks. Like these 3 tasks is going to help me make that $1,000, whatever it's going to be. And so I created this thing called VGOT, VGOT. So I started, it's basically a blueprint for whatever I wanted to do. So I didn't realize I was doing it that strategic. I didn't sit there and say this and this, like the VGOT. But what I do remember is like, hey, my vision is to get out of high school. My vision is to be a Marine. My vision, and then I was breaking down my stuff, well, my goal is to get through high school, my other goal is to stay in shape. My goal is to pass the ASVAB. So somehow, like, I think I had this sort of abstract concept of something that I was going through my head that I kind of was very organized and methodical about. Like, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, and kind of guaranteed me that I was gonna be successful, right? Of course, nothing's guaranteed, but the point is that you come up with a game plan. And the crazy thing about this is that once you once you focus on your blueprint, right? Let's just say you want to start a business or whatever the vision is, right? Run a marathon. you get a kickoff, you get a dopamine fix every time you check that off, right? You check it off, you check it off. Like first is like right, 3 miles, 5 miles, 7 miles.
Right.
My goal is to hit a half marathon. Boom, that goal I finish, Maybe another goal here is like just, like this goal has to do with just logistics. Well, the objective is to get the money to buy the damn shoes, create your game plan for the running.
Right.
And again, you check it off, and you get that. It's kind of like this dopamine fix that you're making progress through stuff. And so I thought that was the whole idea behind Inspire Moss. The seed, the soil, plant the seed in the soil. You start growing the stem. You start benchmarking your progress, and then you grow the flower, which means like you've actualized, and then the idea is now spread the seeds over and help somebody else.
I see, yeah.
And so that's just Inspire Moss, Inspire Motion. So I was doing stuff with I did a retreat with like 100 plus kids down in Orange and San Diego, and to this day, I had all these thank you cards. These guys, the one guy hit me up because he hit me on Instagram and he became a police officer. And I had these kids with a binder. My daughters helped me put these binders together, and they go up and say, my vision is to become a police officer. Well, what's the purpose behind that? It's to help my community, and so forth. And don't say, hey, my vision is to be rich. Well, why? Well, he said, because I want to help my mom buy a house, whatever. So I remember doing a lot of that stuff, like right before I got divorced,
Right.
So I think when we got divorced, I wanted, like, my vision was to start a business, and I did it, and it happened. But, it's.
I think that's a very wise approach. And for the fact that you developed that on your own, it's extremely innovative, because I think I picked up a lot of systems because I saw that with the military, oddly enough.
Yeah.
The military has a system of, we're gonna achieve something extremely complicated, but we're gonna break it down ABC style.
Yeah.
This is this.
There's a 9-line brief. Here's
and everything is it's these like baby steps you take to achieve this crazy goal that you think is
impossible.
Whatever you're trying to do, we're gonna have you jumping out of a plane, and you're like, what are you talking about? This is insane. In how many weeks? Okay.
Like, okay, sure.
Sure. That sounds great. And it's just these baby steps of whatever that system is. And I think that is something you sort of mastered and implemented in your life, and taught people on how to use that in the real world, in the civilian world. You know what I mean? Because as long as people can see, because everybody has a goal and an objective. I want to achieve this. But they never achieve that goal because they don't know how to get from A to D.
Right.
There's no, what's the pathway? So if you can just work them backwards and say, what are the steps? Why do you want to achieve it? And you can fill those steps in for them. You give them a pathway to achieve what they want.
Yeah, and especially when that pathway is guaranteed, right? When you literally, one of the videos I used to show these kids was this physics professor, and he literally lined up a small little. He put it actually with his tweezers. And he had every other domino was 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. And it was only like 7 of them, but he would sit there and like, watch this. And he'd like put the little tweezer and he'd drop the other domino, drop the other domino. And then the other domino was like this big. He goes, if he had 6 more dominoes, he'd be like the size of the Empire State Building.
Wow.
But the idea was powerful, like psychologically, to tell people how important it is to plan it out, right?
Right.
Like plan it out. And it's so easy to say than done, but because sometimes you don't even I don't know how to build a house. Yeah. But at least you have to have a vision. Are you building a craftsman house? Are you building like a modern house? Are you buying, what are you building? So don't just go and start running and start hammering a door, like what do you want, And I mean, and maybe some people don't know what they want, and maybe somebody else maybe become an inspiration because people see, oh, wow, that I want that. Right. And then the question is, okay, a lot of people want stuff, but I think a lot of people just don't know how to do it.
And that I don't think, what I think can be intimidating to people. It doesn't have to be this monstrous goal.
100%.
It can be something super small.
Because everything's relative, right?
I want to start running. That can be your goal. I want to, learn to, I don't know, draw a circle. Whatever it is.
Exactly.
Then you set the steps for them to achieve that. And then once I think they learn that, it's like, I can apply this to that. And it can apply to so many other things in their life. They can really achieve whatever they want.
And the idea is just to be able to have success, right? Because I mean, when you're waking up in the morning and you have a good vibe and you're in a good spot, and whatever you use to be successful,
right?
I don't know about you, but I mean, I have my calendar every day, and I have my little scribe thing, and I have my colors for everything, and that's my go-to every day. I mean, I tried doing the computer stuff, and I'm a tangible person, but that's what works for me, right? Other people use their notes like there's nobody else.
Right.
Everyone has their system, but it's just interesting to find systems so that. If that system's not working and you're not getting success in whatever you're doing and you're kind of stuck in the mud somewhere, pump some, go like I said, go get a soundboard, like listen to podcasts. Remember go into, this is a mind issue now.
Yes.
You got to go in and get some data points in there, start learning, and open yourself up to like, I don't understand, but let me listen to podcasts, let me listen to Coggins and get motivated to start running again. I don't know.
Really? Yeah.
Right. So it's really important to have that data points coming in. I mean, I have my pattern every morning. There's a lot of I don't know. There's a lot of pleasure in just having repetition sometimes. Seeing people.
I agree.
So yeah.
So what is it that you do exactly right now? That is like the burning question.
I feel like I'm a 2531 radio operator, right? I'm a communicator.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like I'm doing the same thing now. I'm on the phone and I'm communicating and I'm making shit happen. But I work for a not-for-profit, 501c3. It's called a CDC in our world in finance and commercial real estate. I'm a CDC. So it stands for Community Development Center. So we're a 501c3. We're licensed by the SBA department to underwrite loans and process loans and service the loans. So we help small business owners who, it can be something like a pawn shop, a barber, a car dealership. It can be a doctor, dentist, large manufacturer. It can be a huge distributor. And we help those small business owners purchase their commercial property.
Sure.
So that they can move into that property, invest into the property, grow the business, and with the idea of them to hire more people. So we're helping these small business owners grow so that they can hire more individuals and expand the community, expand the economy.
So this is part of the banking industry?
So it's a program specifically called SBA 504. That's a nomenclature. SBA 504. There's a 7A, it's 504, but it's the only program that allows a small business owner to buy a commercial property with only 10% down payment. Excuse me. And the way it works is that the bank, B of A, Wells Fargo, Chase, let's just say it's a $10 million loan.
Sure.
The bank does $5 million, which is 50%, right? The bank, B of A, does 50% of the total project. I do $4 million, and then the customer comes with a $1 million down payment.
Gotcha.
And the bank loves it because they're only exposed 50% on a $10 million property. If the client defaults for whatever reason, he's on first position. So the bank's like, dude, we can sell the property for $7 million. They still get their $5 million, right? So it's a very good, it's a good way for the banks to want to do the deal versus if there's no SBA, the client has to come with 30%, 25% down payment, and they need to go to exposure to 75%. So they have to take more exposure, more risk. So it's less risk for the banks. The client only comes with 10% down payment.
Makes sense.
That money comes from the bond market. And the program is self-sustainable, meaning the whole system works by itself.
Sure.
So my job, I worked at Wells Fargo as a business banker. Of course, as a banker, you're like an infantry. You're an 0311, You're just, you're doing credit cards, merchant services, you're doing treasury management, you're doing lines of credits, equipment financing, doing loans. You're the guy there just kind of, being a general infantry guy, just handling a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. My job is more like a sniper, like I'm specifically only do this program and that's all I do. Mm-hmm. Now I work, within the banks, they have their own sniper, their SBA guy. And so I work here as a CDC, as a liaison between the SBA and a liaison for the bank and a liaison to the client. So I'm sitting coordinating this whole thing together. I find the client, either the deals come from the client or like the client hits me up and they call me, Eddie, I'm buying this property. I heard, my other client. Or sometimes the bankers can't do a loan without the CDC. So the bankers call me like, hey, Eddie, I found this client, we're going to do a 504. We want you to be the CDC. So they plug me in. Or sometimes the brokers who are listing the property, they're like, hey, Eddie, I have this client wants to buy this property. They only have 10% down. Can you help us out? So I'm in the middle, getting plugged in from different angles. And then I'm the one kind of controlling the situation and saying, okay, let me meet with the client, get the application, let me pre-qualify the client,
right?
Get the proposal going. Hey, what's your rate on this deal? Let me put in my proposal. Give me your proposal. Client agrees to it. They sign it. We open escrow. I order the reports, the phase one, the appraisal, or at least my team does. Right. And then I go on and go through the whole process from, getting the approval and then closing escrow and getting the keys to the client and then move forward. The bank's happy, I'm happy, wow. The liaison's happy, my boss is happy. So it's a really cool position that I have because it's all about people.
Facilitator.
a facilitator, you know? So I have some, and I speak Spanish, and we're in California, in Los Angeles. There's massively a lot of Hispanics. So,
Well, no one speaks Spanish here, so it's
oh, just Chinese, right? Or Asian, I don't know, it's French.
Asian, they speak
I
Asian.
speak Asian. What does that mean? I don't know. That was, but it's you know, you went to my event and you saw all those people up there that have bankers and brokers, and it's cool because I'm dealing with people who are my friends, you know, and it's not like oh sir, how are you? It's more like, hey, what's up, Eddie? It's like, like, what's up? Like, hey man, we got another deal. Like,
Well, people feel more comfortable that way too
Yeah.
if you become.
And it's fun.
I mean, it seems literally like it fits your personality and what you were in the, like everything you do seems like it just kind of fits.
It's funny. I've been using this. I've been telling people that those are birth certificates, and Eddie Santos born, you know, East LA, and what's his future job? It's like what he's doing right now. That's my future job. I mean, it's never boring. It's challenging. You know, it's. I mean, it gets nerdy sometimes. I mean, I look at the finance.
Sure.
I don't get like as much as I use some in sales, but
Sure.
you know, I have to look at situations, look at the numbers. But my back office does all this cool stuff for me. So lets me be good at what I'm good at, which is dealing with people.
Do you work out of an office or do you
I
at
work,
your
I work from
house
home most of the
primarily, or-
time, but I'm out. You know, we have an office in downtown LA.
Sure.
So we might pop back in on the way just to say hi to the guys. But you know, you also got to cultivate relationships with your back office, right? So it kind of reminds me a lot of the Marine Corps. You got to you got to know your troops, right? You can't be just, you know, you can't be that guy, you know, pulling rank on people.
Oh,
You gotta
yeah.
know your team, and you gotta have respect for them, and you have to appreciate them. Because when you know, you need to have some silver bullets sometimes, you know.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
because sometimes you get, you know, I need a silver bullet for this deal, and then you don't want to be the guy crying wolf either. Like, hey, I need this, and this, and then it's like, oh, the deal fell apart. The deal fell apart. After a while, it's like, hey, you know, Eddie's deals don't come through. So, reputation is everything, and you know, having integrity, you know, character, all these things, you know, are very, very important in my job because you know, a lot of these bankers work really hard to find an opportunity. And then when they throw me the football, or they throw the CDC the football, they were like, hey, that's my guy. He'll get it there.
Yeah.
And that's the reputation you want to have. And you know, and of course that happens through experience, right? So people trust you, they like you, and they'll do business with you. I had another thought in my mind, but I can't quite remember it. But anyhow, it has to do with going back into my knowledge from marketing, like the fundamentals of marketing, you know, price, product promotion, you know, positioning a product. I just felt so everything. I really grab what I learned in my undergraduate degree and really apply those fundamentals. So, you know, I'm on LinkedIn a lot. I'm always you know, I'm always pushing, and you know, I kind of to the point of it might seem redundant. It might seem, oh my God, it's excessive, but you know, being the first in mind with a concept and being like when I think for me, it's like just remembering how important it is to like say something, put something, send an email, you know, like,
Right.
so when, you know, and corporate America has it down to a science. Marketing is a science to some degree. You know, there's a reason why I have a platinum card and I get the same platinum card offer every freaking 2 weeks, you know? I'm like, what are they doing to me? Like, I can't, they're wasting this energy. Oh my God, they're wasting paper. But there's a science to this stuff, you know? Once you plug into that science, you know, it does become, you get success out of it, you know? And it has, all these parts have to be moving together, right?
You've had to learn a lot about people, I imagine. That seems.
Yeah, you know, and it goes back to the thing like when we were kids, right? You just, I mean, like I said, I talk to my clients, and trust me, I have my bad days, you know, with clients. I'm like this, you know, let me, like this. But again, you got to kill them with kindness, you know, and you got to take a step back and say, okay, let me see what I can do to help here.
Well, because you don't know what they could be going through something on their end.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
it might be complete miscommunication, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So, no, I love what I do. It's a lot of fun, and my daughter helps me with my marketing, you know, and this idea of, oh, I think maybe I can go this angle, you know, not to talk about money, but to talk about, you know, your time, you know, 50, I think if you do the math, I think it's like 49.50, let's say $50 an hour, 40 hours a week times 52 weeks in a year, it's $100,000, you know, if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
And then learning, when I picked up the idea of how to put my time into things, right? If I'm trying to make $500,000 a year, let's just say in theory, I'm trying to hit that number. That means that I got to see myself as a $250 per hour person, right? And guess what? My skill set is people, negotiating, getting the business, doing the marketing, like doing the actually, I'm kind of doing like little mini Don Draper I'm on my phone editing all the time. But, that's something that no one's going to be able to do. My back office is not going to do all meeting with the client, meeting face-to-face, setting those events. So it's kind of cool when you start learning how to delegate those jobs. I'll pay my dollars for $25 an hour to help me put these business cards in. She loves it. I love it. Everyone's happy, And
delegation, I think, is that's probably the most challenging thing in life, is trusting other people to do what you task them
And
with.
what did we learn? I mean, the Marine Corps is very, Marine Corps is like, hey, you're the staff sergeant, and they're the last coolies coming in. They don't even hesitate. Like, whatever you say goes, right?
Yeah.
And that's easy, right? Now, behind your back, they might say something like, fuck that guy, but, it's
Of
have
course.
to do it.
Yeah.
But it's the opposite of that when they respect you. But you didn't get there overnight. You have empirical knowledge, right? Like, you have all this knowledge to get you there.
Yeah.
Right. And I think about this when we're in Iraq. I mean, I don't know about you, but we're in the line. We're in prone position, and all this shit was going on. And we had a game plan, right? Like, oh yeah, we have the map. We did so many scenarios, and we the Marine Corps always does this little mock things, almost like Back to the Future with Doc, right? All this shit's gonna happen. The lightning's gonna hit here, and then we'll blow you to 1985. Like the Marine Corps has kind of the same way, right? Yes. Alpha team will come in here, and then we'll whatever it is. We have
MRE boxes,
boxes running around, cigarette box, and here comes here's OP dodge, and here's OP forward. And you're laughing because you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But where I'm going with this is that when I remember just being there with the British, with the SAS guys, and we're with the Gurkhas and all these other guys, and we practiced it over and over and over again, and we have this idea of what's going to happen. But guess what? We have no clue what happened. And when we got there,
falls apart.
It all falls apart, right? But just the idea that you had a game plan gave you a lot of confidence, right?
Yes.
I was telling my guy when we're in the Humvees, and we soldered like all this stuff to the Humvee because we had no armor, so we're hanging on the side of the thing. We had a camel in the front with a GI Joe on top. We got a speaker system in the back and the front with a CD player in the top. We had it all rigged. Like my weapon's gonna be slick here. The seats to make it comfy. But this guy brought some. We're in Camp Commando, and this guy brought like a chair, like a folded chair, and we're all like. Like, wait, that's head. Why are you taking this shit with you, man? Like, we need room for this in here,
Oh yeah.
Dude, that chair was so comfy for that fucking for the rest of the thing, I was like, motherfucker, I can't pull a chair. He's like this. No, pack of cigarettes, bro. So, but it's just kind of, I guess what I'm trying to get to. That's like you can have the greatest plan, and you just don't, can fall apart. But the crazy part is, how cool would it be, like right before sunset, if your future self came back after. And saw everything was going through, and came up to you and said to me, Sean, give me your map real quick. Let me have a conversation for 20 minutes with you. How different would your whole experience be?
Yeah.
Right. Like, and so to me, that's how I see my elders or other people who are experts in what they're doing. And to me, it's like I like to tie into those guys, and it has to do with money, but I want to tap into their knowledge. Right. I don't need to be an expert on it. But it's cool when you can see people as valuable. They're walking books almost. They're walking experience. So to me, I love having those dynamic conversations of like, hey, I don't know anything about this, but I genuinely want to know about this.
Yeah.
And it's and then you see people a little bit different because regardless of who it is or whether it's a security guy working at CVS, he might just have a deep story about his life, You never know, So
you never know.
You never know. But it's and so basically what I'm trying to say is like I do enjoy people in that way, and I kind of went from one concept to this other concept. But going back to where I work at, and being in the Marine Corps and being with Anglico, it's and you have your assault team, you have you have the FIC team, right? The fire control team, which is the tip of the. I call them like the tip of the fingers. And
right.
You have Manila, who supports us, support non-liaison.
Yep.
And then you got the back headquarters, whatever. But it's kind of nice when you feel like you have backup, right?
Yes.
You go out there, do your job, and you go back. Hey, I need new batteries. I need new ammo. I mean, if you like whatever, like, okay, get back out there, right? And that's the way I feel with where I work at. It's like they have my back. I'm out there. They respect me for what my job is. And if I need to call an airstrike, they got my back. Versus like trying to be the guy who's doing everything. Right, and that to me is like I've worked within the company doing similar stuff. I'm identical company, but it's the backup systems company. I thought I was going from a Toyota to sell to like the SS Camaro, and like I'm in a Grand Prix vehicle,
Right.
And so to me, like I'm so thankful for having that team because there's no way I would have been able to be as successful as I am without having that team. And so it's not about me all the time. It's like you gotta give gratitude to everybody behind you. And also like I'm sitting here, right? And like we're sitting here, I'm not saying, oh my God, Eddie's. I think about all my teachers. I think about my aunts, my uncles, all these people that came into my life to put me in a position where I'm at. And this is why I think it's so important for me to give back. Yeah, you have reach out and try to help. And I had this thing lately. I don't know if it was a weird dream or something, but it kind of hit me where I was just like almost like a voice opened up somewhere. I can't remember what it was. It's like, you need to help more people. You know what I'm saying? It's like, help more people.
That's like, the future calling back to you.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. That future sitting. I was like 80-year-old Eddie, like, help more people.
That's a positive look, though.
It's like,
man.
buy the lottery ticket. You want to win out. It's like, maybe happier.
Can you give me the numbers?
Yeah, give me numbers. Just buy the damn ticket. Let me handle that. You can't win the lotto. It's a funny joke. You can't. It's that guy from this TV show. You can't win the lotto if you don't buy a ticket. He's chasing after ambulance, trying to be the first guy to report.
So true, man. Hey, I guess at the end of the day, you want you want the boldness and confidence of your child self, and you want the wisdom of your older self.
Yeah,
that's really you want the balance of those two.
Exactly,
because it's in the middle. That's the toughest part.
Yeah, and I have my daughters down. Right? My older daughters, you saw her. She's 18 years old, and I'm having slowly better conversations with her about it. She's going through her stuff too, and like everybody else. And
sure.
And so, of course, that's an immediate, right? I got to laser focus on my daughters and make them be my priority. So it's nice to have that. I cannot imagine. I don't know. It's just when you have children, and they're gonna be there. Like, they look at you as your dad, like whatever dad says goes, and their mom, but they go through that teenage years and everything just goes psycho, like off the wall, like they know everything, And I see my other daughter now being completely different, and she's like a young adult now, and I can see her wheels turning. And so, yeah, it kind of reminds me, maybe I do need to spend more quality time with my daughter and have these type of conversations with her,
right?
Because I think she's recognizing a little bit like, oh, dad was in the Marine Corps. I didn't know if dad can throw these huge parties. Like, they don't know until they're there, and that's why I exposed her to this environment. I want her to be there and see how things are done. And she's going through her own, like, what am I going to do for a living? And she's at CISA now, and she wants to do major in marketing. And so we'll see how that develops. But
I think kids are, I think the biggest thing I think from parents is hearing kids are sort of like a reflection of yourself, and you begin to see, you know what I mean? You begin to see missteps or things that happen in life, and you're like, oh, that's an interesting.
Either myself or my ex-wife. I don't know, one of those. Not sure what's good or bad. It's a good thing, Kelly.
It's a combo.
It's a combo. Now, one of my oldest daughters, like, she's a saver. Like, she's got like thousands of dollars. She's got more money to save than most adults that I know. And my other daughter owes me $30,000. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, they're so different from each other.
Isn't that wild?
It is, and it's just you don't know, man. You don't know what's going on in their head. The DNA, which ones they grabbed.
I don't know how much time you have, but I was going to ask you another question.
Yeah, go for it. I just want to make sure you guys are good.
So you PA down at what did you say? Sony Pictures? No, you were interning.
So I was interning at Sony Pictures for the the international marketing department for the brand manager.
That's wild.
Yes, it was interesting too.
Why that? Of all places?
Well, I got lucky. First, I felt privileged to even get interview against all these kids, and I got very lucky. But it was just interesting to see these C-level executives, like talk about all these brands of channels that they own: the India market, the South America market, the Asian market, and these are just assets to them, And then I had to summarize a lot of their research, and they would like they wouldn't create a new channel like, we need a Hallmark channel over there, like a Hallmark channel, like, yeah, okay, so get a research, get a study group, and get some people, and let's figure out what is this going to look like? It's going to look like a bear, tiger, like, ask them some questions so we can formulate this idea of this channel. Oh, they need a Red Bull channel over here, but we can't have Red Bull, so let's figure out, and let's get an action channel here. And then I see these reports come through, and we have to like summarize this, and so it was just interesting to see those data points, and also the analytics of like what channels are making the money, which ones are not. A movie comes up from Adam Sandler, and then they would test a movie at a movie theater, and everybody go in there. Can this be translatable to the French market, or is there anything in here that piss people off? So it's just really bizarre. And I'm sitting in the middle of it, like, going, this is kind of cool.
Like, all right.
And I'm just like the kid in the floor, and they're sitting there like in the whatever the little White House it is, whatever, they're all bougie and they're looking at this, but the numbers are not working on this one. Like, give me the ratings back on this one. Call them up. And so it's just kind of seeing these people like at high level, just maneuvering this big ship with a lot of moving pieces.
All the gears fit together.
Yeah, but that was working on Sony Pictures was very interesting.
Wild, man.
Just and, again, that's what I thought I wanted to do. And,
yeah,
but it's
life. Yeah, water finds its way, right? It's
exactly
path of least resistance. I was going to ask you about because I know very little about same thing. You guys, we split off in Iraq. We went east.
Right.
Yeah, we went
east.
No,
north,
we went west.
West north.
We went toward Nasiriyah, and you guys went to Basra.
Right, past Al Medina, and
so I never knew. I have no idea what happened.
Yeah,
like it was
like, see you guys later. Yeah, and so we're both in the same way. Like, I don't know what happened. I can only imagine. All I do know is that you guys saw some hard than we did.
I had no idea. Like, what would?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we went in there, remember just day one, right? Just everything up in flames, and and then you see massive amounts of ammunition and weapons, and these, they didn't want to fight us. They were like literally in formation, walking towards us, and they were just like, we give up, we don't want to fight you. But yeah, I mean, at least for us, I remember sitting in the first refinery for the first 4 days, because I actually something happened to our vehicle, and I actually crossed the line with the one Royal Irish on back of a Land Rover with no windows. So I'm in the back of this thing, with my GPS on the radio, trying to keep comms going.
And they're in Land Rovers?
And they're Land Rovers, right? And there's no windows. I'm in the back of this, and so I'm like going, doing this thing, and, it's night. I have my mop gear on, and, I didn't have my mask on, but I was like, mop gear on, all this shit's heavy.
Stuff was terrible.
So horrible. And so when the door finally opens up, like the sun's barely coming up, and so anyhow, so I was with them at this refinery for like 2 days before my team clicked in with them, and then we kind of like, I got with my 4-man team, with my FIC team, and then we just kept pushing north, and most of the stuff was towards the east of the Iranian border, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we were just, I remember just being in these refineries just like for like a week or two, and then we get pushed through Basra, we're not Basra, like Al Medina. I don't remember the names that well, but next thing you know, you're like driving driving on the road with this this like hill that goes downward, and there's rivers running through these houses, and there's palm trees and date trees, and I'm saying, like these date farms, and people with like boats and stuff. And it's like, you're living like biblical times, it's just like the most bizarre thing ever. And of course everybody comes out, and they're like, so I think a few of them had American flags. I don't know where they got them from, but they're like doing this USA, because they didn't like Saddam down there. And I'm going to South Memory, and I remember going near this a major river. I can't think of it right now. I remember being there for a while. We were like in this headquarters, and there was like a torture room.
Was it Euphrates? Yeah, I think
it was Euphrates. And there was like a torture room, and there was like stuff on the wall with blood, like it had body parts that they cut off. I guess that was like the place. And we were there for a few days, and then from there we pushed on further west, further east, and just at that point it was more like Palm Springs, like middle of the desert, like no buildings. It was just out in the middle of nowhere, like no roads at certain points. But yeah, just like landmines, I had to back up. Like, there's a landmine there, and these little posts.
Were you guys following roads, or?
We were following our GPS, our system, whatever it's called, a little iPad. Or iPad, as we call it. Like, what the fuck is that shit?
That's so clunky.
Yeah. I'm like, what? You can do a road here? There's a road here? That's a road here, So, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, we were very lucky that we didn't have anything massive. I think we lost one guy in the beginning. I think it was a second lieutenant, and I think it was another lance corporal who got hit with his anti-artillery. I forget. I don't know the whole story.
No, it wasn't with Anglico.
I don't know if it was with Anglico, but it was near when we were first crossing through.
Jeez.
And then the other part, I remember is going to this town where when we're all coming with our vehicles in a huge caravan, all the people came out and they drew us towards the center stone of this. I want to say it's Al Medina, but I might be wrong. And then we toppled down the statue of Saddam, and
that's where you got the arm.
I didn't get it there, but that was where it came from. I think it came from that statue because it's pretty chopped off. So we from that moment, the British guys engineers, they took it back and they dragged it with a chain, and people were stamping it with their flip flops, their flippy floppies. And then I remember being on top of this building with my team for like, I don't know, it seemed like forever, but it was there for days. And you start seeing the people kind of like the people kind of eyeballing us, like going in a circle around the building. And then it was funny watching these crazy kids though. These kids were like nuts. They were just out there. I mean, it's war and they're playing soccer and like, it's just kind of funny seeing like these kids being kids, and we're there for hours. So we get bored and we're sitting with the goggles and like that little punk ass kid keeps messing with that kid. And we're sitting there joking around this because we had nothing to do. We're bored.
Of course. Yeah.
But anyhow, so that was interesting. And then we got pushed further to the Iranian border. I think we got so close. I think we got to the point where it was probably no more than like, the fence was probably maybe like 800 meters. That's how fast, that's how close we got to the border.
Wow.
And then they had their little castle thing where they were in. And like you would sit there looking at them, and it's like it's only one vehicle, and we're formed a FIG team, and we're looking at these guys with their vinyls, and then one guy comes out, and then another guy comes out, and next thing I was like 10 guys over here and 10 guys this way, and we're like, okay, so what exactly are we supposed to do here now?
Yeah,
but they were kind of eyeballing us and eyeballing us, and remember that's where the war took place between Iran and Iraq. It was a 12-year war, so there was just like holes everywhere, landmines everywhere, and it was kind of crazy because a lot of times I was like, I had to kind of tell the guys, okay, we got to back the vehicle up, or let me lead you guys through this section because we don't know what the hell's in here, but you can see the landmines. So I kind of like navigating the guys through some of the areas. But overall, we got very lucky. I mean, there was always gunfire everywhere. It's just always kind of going on. But we never got in a situation where it was like, oh, like here it is. We're like in this, like that movie that just came out. So that was pretty intense.
Yeah.
But we were out like literally in the middle of nowhere. The veterans would come over with their camels, and I remember like we had our tarp down, and I remember like at sunset, I remember we opened up a light stick or whatever, the
cam lights.
The cam light. Turned cam light, and they were like, Alibaba. They were like freaking out. These people like had no idea of electricity. I brought I think I had my little Nintendo thing, whatever it was, and they were just like, oh, like they couldn't believe like technology. I think these people like were literally living. That's how far they were off from civilization. And anyhow, it was an interesting experience. I mean, I can talk forever about this, but for the most part, I'm just glad that, things weren't worse than they could have been. I think we're very fortunate, and of course, we're always doing this stupid shit. Like, I think with the movie, The King, what's it called? With a movie with
Three Kings.
Yeah, the Three Kings. We had a lot of those moments. Not
for
throwing
sure.
a football, blasting it off, but what do Marines do when they get bored?
Oh,
they start doing stupid shit. So we like line up artillery rounds about this big, and like walk, like drive our vehicle and go up the top of a building. All right, let's take turns.
Oh,
blowing
yeah.
this shit up, and it's like it's just almost blown over our head. And I remember like walking to the buildings and like with that .203 grenade launcher, like let's just bust up that ego and boom, and like why did I just get cut? It has shrapnel all over us. Okay, at least I know how this stuff works now. It's just a lot of fun, stupid stuff like that we did, and
highly dangerous,
dangerous, but yeah, there's a lot of stories I probably shouldn't get into, but anyhow, so once we got back from once we got back to like we were done, we all kind of collected. That's where we were in this area. I don't know how big it was, but it was like a square. It must have been, I don't know, maybe like probably like 3 football fields across, like across this way. And we came back in, and that's where we had the vehicles all parked. And that's when we...
Is it in Basra? Or
kind of Basra, like near Basra. Yeah, kind of same area. And so, we're going through our cleaning, cleaning everything else. And then we went to eat. Our vehicles were parked on this side, and we walked all the way to this side to go actually get some hot chow. They actually the British had a barbecue, I don't know what they call it. So we were all excited, like we hadn't eaten hot food in a while. And then on the way back, I see the statue, right, cut in pieces. Like the head was over here, like the torso was off, and like some of the leg was there, but it's all cut in pieces. And this is some thick bronze or whatever the heck it was. Yeah. So my buddies and I were walking back and smoking a cigarette, and actually I'm not sure we were walking. But we'll figure that out. Yeah. But we're in combat,
that would never happen.
That would never happen in garrison. But I remember they kept walking. I'm like, I'm taking that shit home. And they're like, no way. I'm like, so I grabbed this thing, like 70 pounds of bronze. And of course, they're walking ahead of me. And I'm carrying this over my shoulder back to the vehicle. And so there's the wall, and all the Humvees are parked side by side by side. So every vehicle is a FIG team or part of Manila. So they're like in force playing, crazy eights or whatever the hell they do. And I'm going through the whole, we call the alley cat. And everyone's just looking at me like, Santos, dude, like, what do you, you're a dumbass. There's no way you take that home, you know? So anyhow, I wrapped it, put it in there. And I even came back and I even took back there's a piece of square bronze that I brought back. And I actually gave it to my buddy Scott.
Oh, that's awesome.
So anyhow, the incident happened, which I don't want to get into details about that, but I was able to convince the CIA when I was in Kuwait, after I had a surgery, and a staff sergeant was like, "How dare you take this away from the Iraqi people?" And and I'm just kind of looking at her like, I'm like, what? I'm confused. Like you're getting the rear with the gear. Like these people did not want this. So C-130, C-141, whatever it was opened up in the back, and I'm like, I'm just gonna request masks. I have a note from my CO. And she was all pissed. And so she, I'm sitting there, everyone's waiting for me to get in the freaking aircraft to go to Italy. And this woman comes out, and it's black shirt, CIA camis, and a CIA hat. And she's like, "So what's the problem here?" It's like, "Ma'am, this Marine wants to take this away from it, wants to take this home and belongs to the Iraqi people." And she goes, "Is that what I think it is?" And I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." So can I get a picture? And I'm like, "Absolutely." And she goes, "That's awesome." She goes, "What's the problem?" She goes, "It's just like, well, I don't know. Someone you need to decide." It's like, "No, that's awesome. Take that shit home," And so that's how I got it there, And then I went to Italy. In Italy, they didn't tell me anything. Like they were cool, and I was Percocet the hell out of my. I was just that was a whole different thing. That's for sure. And I went from Italy that was Spain. That was Rota, Spain. Rota, Spain. We went to DC. And I have this thing with 2 padlocks. I'm literally in the car in the same area where the Air Force One is parked, and we're there for the night. And the next morning, they're supposed to take us back to Miramar, to where we were. All the people who are injured are being taken back to their station. And I'm having a dream that someone's stealing my sea bag. And I'm like, what the hell, right? And I wake up and I got 4 Air Force MPs or whatever are surrounding me. And they're like, "Sergeant Santos, we need to talk to you." And I get up and they take me to the machine and they scan my sea bag, and you can see the arm sitting there. And they're just like, "What the hell is this?" So we know everybody knows what we're talking about. We're talking about the Saddam Hussein statue, yes.
So there's it's like a pointing finger.
It's like the hands like this, It's like so it's sitting in my house like this right now, but it's like this. Anyhow, so because shame on Iran, I think that was the whole idea, that just pointing to the Iranians during the war. So anyhow, they opened it up and they're like, "What the hell is this?" And I'm like, "Look, it's 3:00 in the morning, 04, and I'm like, I'm gonna request masks again." Chief Warrant Officer shows up in his Honda Civic or whatever it was, and he's like, "What the hell is this, Santos?" Like, so we had to go to customs with this. You can't just take it. Yeah. So of course they must have called the customs people before we got there. So when we get there, and keep in mind, this is you can see the Air Force One aircraft over here parked, and then you have our military jets that they used to transport the smaller jets.
Sure.
So then we get there, and the guy's name who's greeting us is this older guy, white hair, beard. His name is Rambo, Rambo. And guess what? He's a Vietnam veteran from my Vietnam Marine veteran, and he's like, I was like, as much as I like to take this, it's not my call. And he goes, "But this is awesome." So they start taking pictures. And so I made a phone call to his boss. And by that point, the aircrafts are being loaded up. And we're sitting here, it's taking forever to get a response. And I'm like, I'm getting nervous. I'm like, I'm going to lose this right here. And so the phone goes on. He puts it on speaker. And I guess Rambo's boss is on the phone. Is this, "Rambo, are you telling me that there's a Marine that just got back from Iraq?" And this is during, this when thing was still hot, like around July of 2003.
Yeah.
It's like, "Are you telling me there's a Marine that's an injured Marine that's in front of you with Saddam Hussein's arm from one of the statues they brought down?" He's like, "Yes, that's right, sir." He goes, "Rambo, I'm going to be in work in about an hour or two. I'm not going to ask you about where this Marine is who's injured, who's got the statue of Saddam Hussein. Do you get my point?" He goes, "I got your point, sir." Hangs up the phone and speaker was like, "That shit, take it home." So, and that's how when I got to Miramar and I landed there, and of course, because we're injured, all these Marines were like, "Oh, welcome back, Marine." We're combat veterans, they're so excited to see us, and they're carrying my sea bag. I'm like, "What the fuck's in here?" Like 2 Marines to each leg.
What is this?
Yes, and I told my ex-girlfriend, Kelly at the time, I'm like, she had a Honda Prelude. I'm like, "Open the trunk right away. Like, I need this is going here." And as soon as we got in there, we're just like, "I'm getting the fuck out of here." Like, I don't want. Yeah, I didn't even say welcome, Eddie. Like, I was like, I'm out of here.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. And I was just like, I couldn't believe it. Driving back to the hotel that day to San Clemente at the holiday, and I was just thinking to myself, like, man, I couldn't believe that was like the funniest thing ever. The funniest part is that I had a fake 9mm gun that I picked up in one of the marketplaces in Kuwait. That was inside of the arm, because it's hollow, and it was backed up with my Van socks in the back, and they never caught onto that. It was in there the entire time.
You could have.
I could have brought a Beretta, or, 9mm. No one would have caught it.
No idea.
It's that thick, So yeah, it's funny. So now it's sitting in my house. My dog tag's on there, and my friends are all like, the guys who were talking shit to me for the Marine Corps birthday, they're like, "Oh, Santos, bring the arm out." I'm like, "You go get it."
You know how heavy that is?
So I always joke around like, "You guys want it? You guys go get it." I brought it here just in case you wanted to see it. It's in the back seat. But
did you really?
Yeah, it's in the
that's amazing,
I think it's pretty funny though. So it's, how people say, like, people tell you like, "Oh, you're in the Marines. Oh yeah, do you know so and so?" That's when we were in, right? Do you know so and so? Like, dude, no. Yeah. Now it's like, "Hey, do you know the guy with Saddam Hussein's statue? Oh, you mean Eddie Santos? Oh yeah, we know that. He lives in Long Beach. Like they know who I am."
That's so funny.
I was at Bastards when they're like, "Oh yeah, you heard about that guy? Yeah, that's him. I'm like, "Oh no way,
that's Eddie."
That's kind of funny. I'm like, no. But yeah,
we can take a look at it.
I'm a little bit afraid when I come back after it. So anyhow, that's that story.
It's fascinating, man. There's a whole. I was shipping things home in. I don't know if you remember, we started getting free shipping through
DHL, Express, I don't know.
Yeah, it was FedEx or something, had some sort of agreement with. So we'd ship stuff home. And so that's where, but the fire really screwed me.
Yeah, dude. You were there too for that, huh? That's really sad, man. I cannot even. How did you feel about that? I mean, shit, you're coming back with like pictures. You have like your memories, right? And then like it's just.
It was so. I had an Iraqi general's uniform, full uniform, the hat, everything.
With the rank and everything.
The rank, it was an entire uniform that I had folded up and rolled up, and I was like, "This is great." And I took it off somebody, but
that's another story.
That's another story. But I was like, "This is awesome. It's got holes in it."
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's crazy.
Like, this is going to be an amazing piece of. So I had that, and I had. We were in one of the palaces in Tikrit, which there's a whole other story of us blowing toilets up and stuff. But
gold toilets.
The gold toilet, yeah. We were throwing grenades. We were throwing grenades down because all these like rivers in Tikrit that he kind of diverted the river around so he could make houses that are around rivers.
Oh, interesting.
So it's kind of like what they did in Venice.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah,
there's a lot of that. Maybe that was. Well, I don't know what Tikrit.
They did the same thing in Tikrit. So
okay.
He created this little compound, and
right.
so we would. We had like boxes of grenades, and they're like, "Well, we can't take these back with us. They just better not be here tomorrow."
Oh yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah. We get that memo.
We'll make sure they're gone.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're taping them together, and then throwing them in the river, or like, what else can we? Oh, there's an artillery shell. Let's roll that.
Yeah.
Into the river. See what happens.
Dude, it's so like marine mode. Like, I mean, it's just.
How far back should we get? I don't
know. Never done it before. Yeah, that thing went over our head, dude. We were like this, like pretty close. I'm like, can you imagine Marines jogging around in Iraq,
But needless to say, I had found a cabinet with a bunch of plates that had Saddam Hussein's signature on them, and then they had his stamp, his presidential seal.
Yeah.
So I had a whole bunch of plates. I had silverware, a whole bunch of stuff that I had brought back.
Silverware.
I was like
gold, 18 karat silver.
It wasn't.
No.
Yeah, and that was all. I basically had it
Goldware.
in a one of those water boxes, and I just wrapped it in towels and
water
stuff.
boxes. Oh, with the
remember
the bottles, the water bottles.
They stopped doing the water buffaloes after a while.
Oh
We set it up.
Just big old long water.
They just gave us these water bottles, and it was like. So I packed it in there, and it all burned in the fire. All that stuff, photos, everything, just burned.
Yeah, I've heard that story from different Marines, and I mean that the look in their eyes is like, yeah. I think there was one time I came back. They let me come back to Camp Commando when we were doing like that area for like one day, and I remember we literally just got back from like we looked like shitbirds, and and I remember like this gunnery staff sergeant was like, "You Marines, you need to go out there and take a shower and blah." I mean, I started yelling at us like, "Don't sit there," and we looked at him. We just kept walking to the chow hall. We're like, I don't care. Do whatever you need to do, but we're going to go eat chow. Like, we don't have a lot of time for this. But the first thing I did before everything, I grabbed all my cameras and I mailed them out, that little hut where Bunch was at, like the comm center? Like, they had the little mail room right there around there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I remember going in there and just like, dude,
that's
check this
great,
shit out,
man.
And it's so depressing. Like, the coolest thing I can find to send my ex-wife back then was like a red rock that I found. It was like a cool little red rock.
Oh, yeah.
There was nothing out there,
Oh, it was emptiness. It was just...
yeah.
We got same thing. We got schooled, Merles and I think we're walking, and I had I had modified my body armor. I cut it up and cut pieces off of it and sewed things to it. And I ripped the pockets off and sewed them on my sleeves.
Oh, yeah,
Because that was and I trimmed the edge off my
booty cover.
So it was
I would have loved to see that.
And I had more facial hair than this. My hair was longer.
I have a picture with my little shorts. What do you call them? My silkies.
Oh yeah.
Weren't you in combat? Yeah, kind of, but it was hot, man.
It was hot, dude.
You didn't keep keep that gear on you. It's all about being practical out there.
Oh my God, I was so happy to take that mop gear off, man. That was
that didn't last for too long, did it? I think it was like third day. We're like, this ain't gonna work for us.
Oh no, we were just dying and that stuff, man. It's terrible.
Yeah, I think they should definitely come up with a new movie though for that. It's just like come up with something. But someone needs to make.
There's
that movie.
so many things.
There's so many funny stories as well. I'm sure they tried to.
But yeah, dude, I don't know. Is there any thoughts you had?
No, I think this is it's very what's the right word? I don't know. It just feels good to just like let this out, because it's I haven't talked about this for a while. And most of the time when we talk about it, it's only like a small snippet, but this is having a comprehensive conversation about all these things it's kind of cool, right? It's like it's a lot of cards on the table. I know we're approaching 2:00, so I know you had to. I think we'll probably head out pretty soon here.
Okay, but yeah. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you.
It was a lot of fun having you here, buddy.
It was a lot of fun. Appreciate your assistance here too.
Absolutely.
He's in the background.
He's actually the boss. To be sure, he's running the show.
Makes it look easy. It's just like just keep going, man. Just go.
But yeah,
awesome. Any help? Let me know.
Absolutely, dude.
Cool.
Thanks again, buddy.
No worries.